from the beautiful Shugborough Hall in Staffordshire. I want to talk a little bit about identity relating to work and profession. In the last couple of days, I've had the pleasure of meeting about 9 people online who connected with me through a LinkedIn post about being made redundant a few years ago. And some common themes coming through these discussions are the follows. I would say the demographic of the people that I've been speaking to are generally mid 40s to mid 50s, mostly men. All of them have had experiences in the last year, 2 years of being made redundant or facing redundancy from long established careers. And the common themes are very much why is this happening to me? What now? I'm a senior person. Why is this happening to me? Number 2, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do? I've been working towards this for 30 years. Suddenly, I'm facing uncertainty. My worth is tied up with my job title. Number 3, reduction of self-worth, self-esteem, titles, impact on the definition of that person through work. So all of these things have hit people, understandably, causing a lot of disruptive emotions, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of insecurity. And that reality of being defined by your work, going to work, being associated with work, talking about work all day long, your relationships with people at work, it's such a massive part of your life, of our lives. Suddenly that's removed. The person you are at work is under attack. You know, that identity is being removed, threatened with removal. So what do most people do? Well, they fear the future, they fear the outcome. Suddenly the safety that they had in that environment, how they're defined, is being removed. And that can be very unsettling to anybody. Not to mention the financial repercussions and financial risk, how unsettling that is. So there's a couple of points I wanted to make on this. I mean, firstly, I think the majority of people, unless you're a serious high performer, you know, sort of CEO, executive level, and are deeply career focused, a lot of people who are in perhaps middle management, just as people who are in the lower levels of management and on the shop floors, you know, the working classes are facing risk of redundancy through structural and industrial change. The middle management are being maybe working in declining industries or being replaced by technology or younger people, and invariably are at risk of being phased out. In some ways, some of the people I've been speaking to are too experienced to be employed. They're not on the senior executive, and they're not junior, and they're too expensive. And actually, there isn't really a reason for many of them retaining their jobs without significant pay cuts. And of course, suddenly you go from a director level or senior exec level to back to a manager, or even lesser than that. That is something that many of us will have to accept. As we get older, we become redundant to a degree, or less important, less vital, and this will happen to great swathes of our economy. As you get older, you get phased out. That's simply the reality of the job market. Younger people come through, perhaps better equipped to do the job, fresher skills, different experiences, better technology awareness, new ways of thinking, and suddenly, bang. So what can we do about this? Okay, Ed, well, it's all very obvious. You get older, you lose your job. We know this. Well, do you? And I think the themes that come through, that association with title, that association with identity, with the person you are at work, the fulfillment perhaps you get or not, the giving you purpose in the week, but it gives, what does it do? What does a job give you? It gives you routine, it gives you safety, it gives you a sure paycheck, it gives you financial security. But when that is removed, most people then feel threatened. Is it a threat? Well, it's a threat and an opportunity. From a financial perspective, it's threatening. Of course, you're removing a salary, there's no guarantee you can replace it. From a personal development perspective, of course, it can offer up all together huge amounts of potential for retraining, reskilling, setting your own business up, moving to new companies, changing your role, diversifying your skill set, changing industry. Maybe repeated that, but so of course there's opportunity. But I think the point of this conversation with myself and you, if you're listening, is think about a few things. Think about your career, think about your job, how it defines you. Why are we so attached to it? And it is because of security and fear of change, which human beings don't really like. So the important thing is to maintain a reality that at some point your career will end. Whether you retire from on your own grounds or you're made redundant, it's going to happen. You will eventually become no longer a paid up member of a workforce. Of course, if you're working for self, it's a slightly different dynamic. So whilst you're getting a salary from someone else, that this is going to happen. They control your working life, and it's that simple. And it's better to get used to that at 18 rather than wait till you're in your 60s or 50s, assuming that there's some kind of loyalty both ways, because there isn't. So what's important is that you accept that this is likely to happen. You obviously keep reinventing yourself in terms of skill sets, but you have things outside of work that build your identity and your value and your usage to society. You keep many things boiling, so ultimately you become multi-skilled. You don't become a one-trick pony. So for example, if you get made redundant as a geoscientist at 58, you should have enough skills beyond just doing geoscience to be able to pivot into other types of roles. Now maybe that could be a non-profit role, it could be a charity role, it could be a organizational development, a executive leadership coach, it could be general management type job, possibly on a much lower salary. So the ongoing training throughout your career is super important, because you want to end up with having enough skills to add value commercially, operationally, and in different industries. And skills like project management, financial management, good IT skills, etc. But mostly you probably want leadership and inspiration. You want to be able to coach and mentor younger people, manage teams, multidisciplinary team management, these kind of things. So you start that very early. Don't become a one-trick pony in one industry, because you find it more difficult to transition. Stay diverse, multi-skilled. I think the second point I would make is that your network in business and in life is ultimately the thing. I think for me, in the last 15 years, all the jobs and opportunities that I've had have been through personal relationships that I've built or had. So as you're going through your career, you're running your own business, the relationships continually need to be developed. I always say to people, business development, networking should be about 25% of your week, particularly if you run your own business. And I think that's the same thing for employed people. Maintain your network, grow your network, and don't become lazy because you think you're just working and that's the end of your responsibilities. Even if you're in a techno-operational role, you still need to keep your networks fresh. It's not just for salespeople and business development people. And the third thing I'd say is that your identity has to be wide in terms of validation, self-esteem. So make sure outside of your career you have a number of different activities where you are valued and important, and ultimately where you add value to other people and groups of people. And then in a way, you can start to transition, not towards retirement, because that's a bit of a false economy. You're not retiring from anything apart from the reality that you might get made redundant or be superfluous to an industry organisation. You're not retiring from life or being productive. So you'll displace maybe more of a paid involvement in industry with something that is maybe more voluntary, but equally as useful to society, and you'll get ultimately value, and you'll receive validation and worth through other things. Hi. So all those things, I think, hopefully are useful in terms of your relationship with your career, how you view yourself in your career, preparing for change, which will come to you if you're an employee, and thinking throughout your career, if your purpose is to be an excellent, employee, rise through the ranks, etc., get paid more, get more responsibility, fine, there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people, however, decide they want more than that, either in a different type of sphere, or they want to work for themselves. So, that decision ultimately can happen at 21, it can happen at 51. And I think when you decide if that's something you want to do, and I was talking to someone this morning, and very much, the pivoting from being an employee to self-employed, which is what I've done for the last 6 or 7 years, is a challenge, but it's very feasible. And ultimately, if you want to do that, then it is possible to do it. And happy to talk to people about pivoting to self-employment if you drop me a line. Anyway, I hope some of that is useful. I've gone on for 12 minutes, it's quite a big one. The main takeaway is don't get attached to the person you are at work. You're still an individual outside of it. And number 2, strive for greater worth and employment title. Number 3, throughout your career, keep reskilling. Number 4, build your network, maintain your network. Number 5, develop multidisciplinary skills and multi-involvement activities outside of your career, so you have lots of value from different activities in your life when you eventually do leave the employment market. Hope that's useful. Take care. And a nice pan shot of Shugborough Hall. Beautiful here. National Trust. Respect.